What is up, guys? It is AR Fly Bros here, and we are here with our second podcast video. So, yeah, let's get started immediately. Let's talk about how to start fly fishing. So, what is the very first thing that you do whenever you get into fly fishing?
Well, the first thing that you have to do and the first thing you have to have is a fly rod and a fly reel. We're gonna start from the basics, I guess, right? You
Yep.
know, so
So, what fly rod or fly reel do you recommend for someone getting into it?
what I started out with, and I'm actually still using somehow. I haven't upgraded. Cabela's, it's a Cabela's President reel and President rod and reel. Kind of just one of the generic, basic fly rod and reels that you find at Bass Pro or Cabela's. It wasn't anything overly priced, but it was an amazing thing to start with.
It works great, though. I agree with him. I don't like his reel whatsoever. I don't think his reel is good for basic starting, but I do not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't respect Bass Pro reels. They're different. They feel different.
They're kind of cheap.
I have an Orvis Clearwater and a Lamson liquid reel. Look into kits at Bass Pro shops for beginners. That's what I recommend. Unless you want to spend money starting off, then go to a fly shop and fill tons of rods. It feels good to have a higher quality reel. Rods are just fun, whichever one you use. I mean, you can have fun with a cheap rod.
I recommend starting off with a kit. You wouldn't want to get something overly expensive and then not know how to use it correctly in the moment in a break, or something goes wrong. You end up not liking it, which you're not going to. You're going to love it. So I definitely recommend one of the kits.
Yeah, so if you want to get a kit, get Redington brand. Redington has great reels that are cheap and match high quality reels. I don't really know much about their rods, but you're getting a great reel for like $99 and you're getting a rod. So go Redington. Redington knows about fly fishing and they keep it cheap. It's definitely a better way to go than Bass Pro. So if you want kits, if you want to test out a fly rod in person or whatever. But yeah, so we got the reel and rod down, and we think about the fly line. Usually kits come pre-packed, so we're not going to actually get into that. But if you want a new fly line, there's something like sinking line and floating line, and it's about the matter of depth that you're fly fishing. So if you're fly fishing a deep river, then you're getting sinking line. If you're dry fly fishing, then you're getting floating line. Just stuff like that to look into if you want a higher quality rod and reel to start off. And go to your local fly shop. They will get it set up for you. They will even put it on for you. So yeah, do that.
If you're going to wade in the water, you need a vest.
Vest, hold, tippet, leader, flies, indicators, clippers, pliers. So you need a vest, 100%. You need a net. We use a net with a metal, a magnet, right? So whenever we catch a fish, we can pull it off our back and boom, ready to go in the water. It's also connected from a cord, so we don't lose the net if anything were to happen. You need pliers because trout's mouths are fragile, their jaws are fragile, and they're also a little bit longer and not as wide mouthed as bass.
You want to keep the fish out of the water for the least amount of time possible.
Clippers, most of them have a little point in the back, and whenever you tie a fly, some of the time the fly cement will cover the eye, so you'll have to poke the eye out. So get clippers. It'll help a lot. Anything else?
Waders. We need waders big time.
So get waders. And I recommend getting two pairs just in case anything were to happen. And then Tideway. Tideway, if you want $40 waders that you can just stack up and have tons of extra, I recommend doing that. You need leader, get with your local fly shop on that. You learn some new knots. To get started, you only need like an improved clinch knot and a double surgeon's knot, which will be the extending leader knot. But yeah, get with your local fly shop on what leader you need. They will tell you your area, what locations you're going to, what leader and what tippet you need, what X, what size, which is how wide the line is, etc. Flies. This is the most entertaining part. What's your 2 cents on flies?
So we started out kind of as noobs and scrubs with flies, right? Going and buying flies from Bass Pro, right? I don't I don't recommend Bass Pro flies, honestly, just being honest. While I'm sure they can work, but I totally recommend getting into fly tying.
I agree.
It,
And order from a fly shop online or in person before you go to Bass Pro Shops to buy flies because their flies are cursed. Plus, it's better to support a local shop than Bass Pro.
yes, 100%. Definitely support the local guys who, maybe are doing a business on the side of tying flies, or the local fly shops, the retired guys who this is their retired job, things like that. Definitely go out and support them. There's tons of guys online. I know, Riley, you've bought from guys online before. We bought from
I've
Donovan
bought
before.
from a lot.
Yeah,
So, the Fly Shack is a great place. The Fly Shop, the Fly Crate, Jerry Warrington, he will get you an insane amount of flies.
especially if they're local guys, you can literally just tell them. I know I did for Donovan, like, hey, I'm fishing the Blue River for trout this winter. What are the flies I need? And he'll literally tie you everything you need to be successful and catch fish, wherever that is. So it's important to find those local guys where you are and, talk with them. Hey, what do you recommend here? Can you tie this for me? Or where can I get this fly? Things like that.
No, you are absolutely right. The local guys are the best, and your local fly shop will either should get you in touch with the dude who will tie on their own, unless the shop itself ties their own flies. Then you can buy from them. A lot of the time, fly fishing guides, are the ones who tie flies and sell them across the state. At least that's the way it is in Oklahoma. So I would look at guides around your state and find out who's selling them, get in contact with them. Their phone number is usually on their page. So order some flies from them. Most definitely. I mean, that's their job and they're top notch. You might get some guided flies in there, which if you're new to the fly fishing world, they work better than regular flies that you find online.
Another thing with flies is maybe you have a ton of flies that are great for recommendation, but how do you know what flies to use at what time? That's kind of something you have to just trial and experience with as you learn the water that you're fishing. But one thing that has helped us out a lot is looking at the water, looking down, seeing the bugs that are on the water, the ones that are on the edges of the water, see what those bugs look like. The food that the trout are
Match
eating.
the hatch is what the fly fishing world calls it. Match the hatch. You try to catch a bug. You see what it's closer to. If you tie, you can bring it home with you and tie it exactly what it looks like. You do definitely need to get into tying.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, read the water and watch what insects are there. Each time of the year is a different spawning season for bugs. So there'll be like a midge one time of the year or full on pheasant another time of the year. So look into when bugs hatch in your area. Get with a guide, honestly, and ask him tips on those because he will help you a lot with the fly selection. And then there's some junk flies. Okay, so the match the hatch flies are usually dry flies or nymphs, and they look like real authentic bugs. Junk flies don't look like bugs, and they catch fish. So there's also eggs, which eggs are respected everywhere. Very good protein. Fish love protein. It's their favorite meal. Eggs, nymphs, dry flies, junk flies. I recommend junk flies, most definitely. Just whatever you can get your hands on. Test flies in your area. Like Adam said, test your waters and get to know your waters because it's not about what we know. It's not about where we fished. It's about where you're going to fish and what you plan on doing.
That's the big thing. You have to adapt and change to your area, your water that you're fishing. Someone in California catches on a dry fly Adams, doesn't mean you can just throw that anywhere and catch a fish on that,
Yep. Nope. I mean, we can't do that for the Blue River.
Yeah.
So it's
very difficult too.
Yep. And I know that whenever him and I go to fly fish a different state, we have to use different strategies in order to catch fish. It's just the way it is. And that's something that's very exciting about fly fishing, honestly.
Those fishing reports. for
Yes.
wherever you're going.
Yes. Fishing reports.
Those are very helpful. Those are normally put out by either game wardens or people who are there who fish that body of water all the time. So they will tell you what the fish want and what they're having most success on.
Yep. And it's also based on temperature and the time of year. It's
Yep.
it's really cool, the scientific part that the wardens or biologists there get into whenever they do a report. Water depth, water movement, and indicators. So whenever it comes to fly fishing, everywhere you go, the water's going to be different. Even if it's only 50 yards down the river, the movement of the water is different everywhere. There's rocks in places that there weren't 50 yards up. There's trees, there's debris, there's a lot. You're going to want to use strategy to work around these and work with them, because working with spots that you can get stuck at are going to catch you a lot of fish. But if the water's moving quick on top, then you might run into some problems beneath. If the water, this is what we've seen, sometimes the water doesn't even move on top, but it moves on bottom. And you figure this out we figure it out by using an indicator. Indicators are very good for figuring out depth, where you hit the ground, if you're dragging the ground, and more importantly, of course, they help to tell you when a trout bites so you can set the hook. Indicators are very popular whenever you aren't strip setting. Buy some indicators and test them out with your waters. Find the depth of your waters. We've memorized the Blue River depth in an insane amount of areas, so we know how high our indicator should be and how low it should be based on the water. And this is how deep our flies are going to go, because we nymph most of the time here in Oklahoma.
Yeah, streams, man, that changed our whole fly fishing life last year, right? When we finally learned how to use streamers and fish streams correctly. Streams, kind of like this one behind me, you can see this little waterfall area. Trout and pretty much all fish love area with oxygen. And you can see, the bubbles that come up and create oxygen in the water right there, right below these streams. And I mean, there's so many different ways you can attack streams. You can fish above them, you can fish below them, you can fish like way below them, where it's not even the heavy part of the current, but it's just getting a nice pool. Sometimes water pools up by streams, and there's tons of fish there because they're attracted to that movement in the water and oxygen. That's all I'd say was that with that is to fish streams, because they produce a lot of fish, I would say.
Oh yeah, they definitely do. And whether you're on the bottom fishing up the stream or you're on top fishing down the stream, it's going to depend a lot on where you cast. So you cast directly into that stream, right? You're using a pheasant tail. You don't really need to strip because it's moving by itself. Now you throw a streamer, a big jig streamer right into that stream, you're probably going to need to strip, or else it's going to sink really quick and get snagged on something. So with jigs, I like to cast them over the stream, over the current completely, and then just stream them through the current. And while it moves this way, I'm also pushing it this way. With pheasant tails, I like to just throw it in from the top. I like to throw it in from the top, which I've seen Adam do, and then you just hold it, and the pheasant tail will move in a weird, swift motion with the current above the water and below the water, because different depth equals different current.
We even throw eggs in the streams and let them drift.
Yep.
And then you can throw a dry fly.
Yes,
maybe
you could.
Right into a stream, but over off where it's pooling off and it's a little bit slower.
Yes.
And then bam, because the water's slow enough. If you throw it right into the current, it's kind of hard for the fish to see it and catch up to it because it's moving so fast.
Especially for smallmouth bass, this current topwater strategy is very, very good. But yeah, depending on what you're fishing for, learn the water, learn your water, learn your flies, what works at your place. Try new things. Look into using a dropper fly. Dropper flies can add more depth to if you're nymphing. It also allows your top fly to be an attractor, so you have the leader connected to the tippet connected to the top fly. From the barb of the hook on the top fly, you're going to have like 12 to 19 inches going down to a bottom fly. This bottom fly, most of the time, is smaller than the top. Sometimes I break that rule and it works. But basically, they'll just get deeper. There's more weight added. And there's an attractor, so you're distracting the fish more. Double the fly, double the power. This is not legal in all areas, so check your regulations where you're at.
And I would say another thing with flies, it doesn't hurt to try new flies. If you're throwing an egg out there for 25 minutes and you're not getting a bite, either you need to find a new spot or you need to try a new fly. Don't keep fishing dead water or dead flies, because different times of the day, different flies could work better in different areas. So it's always good to be on the move, I guess you could say. Different spots or different flies.
I agree. I have I usually have a 10-minute rule. Not catching anything in 10 minutes, I'm out of there. Now this is based on if you know what works in your area and what time. So if I'm there in the middle of February and I'm throwing a pheasant tail early on and I'm not getting anything for 10 minutes, come on, it's fly fishing. They want protein. The fish are hungry.
Yep.
If I know what they want and I'm not catching anything, I'm moving after 10 minutes because I'm confident in my flies and the way I'm fishing, to the point where I don't want to fish an area that's dead water. I know it's dead water.
Even more about this is fishing has brought us so much closer as friends, and it's really brought us together in our friendship even more. You know, we have football and we always have things like that, but I feel like fishing has brought us together so much, whether it was fishing Lake Thunderbird or fishing random lakes, or once we started getting into fly fishing, I feel like we grew so much as friends. So I think that's kind of what AR is our friendship.